Welcome to the We Watch This movie podcast, where we sit down and dissect the latest and the greatest in film. I'm, as always, joined by Marshall on Film Jackson, the David Lynch lover, and the man with over 3,000 films on his watch list. He's currently asleep if you're watching the YouTube side of the podcast. He is dead asleep for some reason. I don't know why, because we just watched The Trial of Chicago 7, a very fast-paced, dialogue-heavy Aaron Sorkin film. The Halloween music's playing because it is still Spooktober. And we want to keep going with the trend. We've still got a few more horrors and creepy crawly movies, but the next couple of weeks it's going to be Sasha Baron Cohen Ville. Jackson, are you awake yet?
No, cats! No!
Someone wake him from this nightmare.
Oh my god. I'm back. The Sasha Baron Cohen bonanza. It's not over just yet. Dan Allen Movies, what year is it?
What year is it?
I was 19 years old when the musical Cats came to our town. I couldn't wait to see it. After the show, I was asked if I wanted to go meet some of the performers backstage. Man, I was thrilled. But when I got back there, they were drunk and out of control. Rumpuscat and McCavity kept feeling up my leg. I tried to leave, but Rumpelteazer held me down and...
Oh, man. That was a close one. I won't finish what he was going to say.
Why were you just playing an infamous, memorable quote from Team America World Police?
Because what was the challenge called again? It's Dan's
Inferno. The
Dan's
Halloween
Inferno.
Revenge Tour.
Yeah.
Despite the headline not mentioning that it's Spooktober, that I've watched The Human Centipede 2, or that the movie challenge will soon be returning, Dan, you have set the gauntlet. Part 2 for this week's episode number 35 of the We Watch This Movie podcast, was Cats. But let's save that for later. And
just don't worry, because if we're still alive next year, Dan's Inferno will make a return. Okay, you know, at the end of the Marvel films, where in the end credits it goes, Iron Man will return, you know, Spider-Man will return. Well, the end credits after the fourth and final movie of Dan's Inferno, there will be an end credits scene that will say, Dan's Inferno will return.
It will not be returning, faithful
Yes, it
listeners.
will.
There is no
Yes,
chance
it
in hell
will.
I'm ever doing this again. I might only be 2 weeks into this 4-week stint, two out of 4 parts, halfway through the slog. But you hear that?
Tell me.
I'm tapping out. 1, 2, 3. I've tapped out.
What? You're out already? You're not going to finish it off?
I really want to bring back the movie challenge, but you couldn't have made this any more painful than it already is.
Really? So this is it? 2 weeks in, you're giving up?
2 weeks in, I've just about given up. However, what are the listeners here for today?
The Trial of Chicago 7.
For our listeners out there, you've got both bingo cards on hand. You've got Dan's, you've got Jackson's, Dan Allen Movies,
Yeah,
Marshall
guys.
One Film. Start ticking them off because it's going to be one hell of a blockbuster 36 episode.
Guys, you've got the bingo. Go over to our Instagram. You're going to see Jackson's bingo card and mine. If you're playing on my card, here's just a few words to help you out. Hugh Jackman, Tennant, Joel Edgerton. There you go. All right, Jackson, are you ready to get stuck in to the Trial of Chicago 7? Yeah? Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, that's a question. Just remember that.
You're not going to ask me how I'm doing, what I've been up to, what I recommend?
All right, go on. What do you recommend? What have you been up to?
I recommend we get on with the episode.
You know why you're on trial here?
You all right?
I was until I saw that.
When you came to Chicago, were you hoping to draw the police into a confrontation? I'm concerned you have to think about it.
Give me a moment, would you, friend? I've never been on trial for my thoughts before.
The trial of the Chicago 7. Take it away.
What was intended to be a peaceful Vietnam War protest at the 1968 Democratic National Convention spiraled into a violent clash with Chicago police and the National Guard. 8 defendants, Abby Hoffman, Jerry Rubin, David Dellinger, Tom Hayden, Rennie Davis, John Froines, Lee Weiner, and Bobby Seale, were charged with conspiracy to incite a riot, and the trial that followed was one of the most notorious in US, no, global history. All right, so this is a really good movie.
The pause. That's one we got to add to your bingo sheet. Yeah, you enjoyed it?
Enjoyed it. It was about damn time that we had a really strong film from an excellent writer-director drop in 2020. Maybe even more pertinent and potentially prescient than Da 5 Bloods, which dropped only a few months ago from Spike Lee. Some similar subject matter around a similar time. And what a ride it was. What did you think, Dan Allen Movies, of the trial of the Chicago 7?
Yeah, I went into this with high hopes because I'd seen a lot of reviewers praising the film, and I enjoyed it. I won't say I loved it, though. I had some issues. See, I watched Molly's Game recently. I think we covered it on the podcast. So that was Aaron Sorkin's first directorial
debut. We did touch on it here on the podcast. You also mentioned that you watched The Social Network, which was Aaron Sorkin's Academy Award-winning screenplay. I think the guy's had 3 Academy Award nominations for Best Adapted Screenplay, but he's picked up a wealth of other awards from the Writers Guild of America, Emmys, you name it, this bloke has done it in the screenplay world. It's probably him and Charlie Kaufman that are some of the more celebrity-type screenwriters out there. And how many movies has this guy now got under his belt that have been successfully produced or greenlit? Is it 9?
There's a lot, that's for sure.
It's amazing to get 1 produced from a screenplay, let alone 9.
Yeah, he's in some elite company. And, you're talking about Moneyball, A Few Good Men, Newsroom, The West Wing. He's got a pretty impressive record. Do I think he's a brilliant screenwriter? And is it showcased in this film? 100% yes. This is a fast-paced movie. It blitzes by. The script was about 150 pages long. I don't know how they fit it into 2 hours, but it's because the script sort of sings its way through. There's never really a dull moment. But do I think he's as good of a director as he is writer? No, I don't think he is. And that's coming off the bat of Molly's Game and now this. The reason I say that is you look at films like Moneyball or, you could say Social Network. I didn't like Social Network as much, but people really think those films are, really 9, 10 out of 10s. Excuse me. Whereas Molly's Game and this, in my opinion, were good films, but didn't reach those heights of those other 2 films. Is that the directing? I think it is, because he's got the cast, he's got the screenplay. It just didn't go to that next level for whatever reason. Do you agree with me? Disagree?
I'm going to disagree. Dan, I want to hear, and it's time for me to put you on the witness stand for a testimony. Where is Aaron Sorkin lacking as a director?
Jackson, just before I hit the stand.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Are you sure you can handle the truth?
Well, I'm not sure if I can handle another week of Dan's Inferno for the Halloween Revenge Tour, but I think I can handle this answer.
What elements?
Yeah, what's lacking? So if you said he's a stronger writer, and let's not beat around the bush here, the guy's one of the best going American screenplay writers out there. So it's pretty tough to match that in terms of his directing efforts. But I want to hear what elements didn't quite hit for you.
I think it's a combination of a few things. And, you know, this doesn't necessarily all land in his pile. Like, I'm talking cinematography, sound, editing of 3 categories where none of them stood out compared to the writing. None of them really propelled the picture. Is that all his fault? No, not necessarily. But as a director, you have to take some responsibility of those fields. Another thing is, like I said before, things like Moneyball and Social Network had a gravitas to those films. Like, we're watching a really standout picture of the last few years. Like, this is a film we're going to watch again and again. And this one didn't have that star quality. And neither did Molly's Game. But they could have. If you put them in the hands of a Fincher, I think they could have gone to that next level. Whatever it is, it's not something I can quite put my finger on. But I think those elements have something to do with it. And just overall directing. I know, look, this is a small budget. You can tell a lot of it's in the courtroom.
Are you sure? Are you sure it's a small budget? I'm having a look here, what we've got available. $35 million budget. So far at the global box office, it's only been released in the last week since we're recording. It's brought in just over $100,000, which seems a bit redundant to mention here during the COVID-19 pandemic, but it's still worth bringing up. 35 million isn't necessarily something to sniff at. I mean, all-star cast, you said it, Dan. It's assembled some of the best in the game, especially with performances, and we'll touch on Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Eddie Redmayne, and Jeremy Strong. But that's still nothing to stick your nose up at.
Yeah, I guess so. That's another thing. The all-star cast, I actually thought Mark Rylance had the most passion and emotion. I'm not seeing his name thrown out a lot. I'm saying a lot of people are saying Sasha was a standout, or it was Eddie Redmayne. I actually think Eddie Redmayne, I was looking for a little bit more. I tell you what, his accent was incredible. I don't know how he did it. I'll give him that, because he's British and he put on this American accent that was unbelievable. Sasha Baron Cohen's accent, you know, I think I could have done a better accent. But
he was battling with that a bit. Supposedly the real Abby Hoffman had that bit of that New Yorker flair, but actually came from Massachusetts and then was in Chicago. So I guess it was someone that, you know, felt like a bit of a gypsy. He didn't really belong to one dialect, you might say.
Look, it didn't hold anything back. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, we've seen before, Eddie Redmayne, you can get the emotion out of this guy. You can take him to the next level. Was he taken to the next level in this film? No. Could he have been? Yeah, I think there was a scene there at the end where he could have probably given it a bit more, and a few other intimate moments. But you know, he was still pretty good. Don't get me wrong. I'm no actor myself. We're just critiquing.
We're not selling him short.
We are not selling this guy short. He's brilliant, and he is in this film. But I'm just saying, I think. Yeah, I mean, there's so many elements to directing. I can't pinpoint one where he fell short. I think it's just an overall sort of thing, because it's just apparent to me, if you look at these last 2 films, compare them to his other work, and you can just tell that something's missing when he takes a hold of a picture. That's not to say, though, that he's not a good director. Let's just get that out of the way. Both films I still really enjoyed. They could have gone to the next level. That's all I'm saying. Fair
critique. Absolutely. Any movie with an ensemble cast, you're going to have a handful. There's a lot of egos there on set, a fair bit of hubris, and trying to communicate a clear vision and a clear focus, be it in a 90-minute feature, a 3-hour feature, or a 2-hour plus like we've got here, isn't so easy. And there's a lot of real life points that Aaron Sorkin wanted to hit. Supposedly from the 20-odd thousand pages of transcript from the real 6-month trial, he's actually taken out real quotes, translated some of it into movie dialogue, but there would have been a heck of a lot of research and a lot of ground to cover in really nailing his vision for the picture. And at some points, it can feel a little bit preachy. So I do kind of echo your sentiment, Dan, that I wish that it may have been someone else at the helm. However, in saying that, for me, that's nitpicking. I believe this was still a fantastic movie, and it was about time that we had something like this for 2020. You brought up Mark Rylance, maybe the most understated performance in the whole cast. Absolutely nails it. I can think back to his showing in, was it Steven Spielberg's Bridge of Spies, where he played like the Russian counter or
and I
double
believe
agent.
he won an Oscar for that, did he?
Yeah, absolutely. Mark Rylance is a British actor, acclaimed for a lot of his work on the stage, less so than in film, but he just killed it here.
Do you think he'll get the nod this year for this?
Well, quick question for you. Is his performance to be considered a best actor or a best supporting?
Supporting.
You believe it's a supporting, not a lead?
Yeah, I think it's supporting. It's a tough one.
Some of the leads here, because it's such a big cast.
You would put Sasha and Eddie as the leads, but what's funny, if you broke down the time on screen, Mark Rylance probably has like a minute less than them. You know what I mean? It's very finicky. It's a tough one. Like, they'll probably end up winning the award that Parasite won for best ensemble cast. Like, these guys are now shooting right up to the top. The SAGs, I think it is.
The SAG, the Screen Actors Guild. That's what I was trying to think of there.
Like, they've shot up to the number one favorite. Like, get on that bet now, because that'll be a tough one to beat. But I'd say supporting actor. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, do you think this is in the running for any Oscars? Do you think Aaron will get a nod? I've got him down for screenplay, and I've got Rylance down as a supporting actor, and that's pretty much it for the Oscars so far.
All right. Could this get a best director nod? Maybe not. I wouldn't be surprised to see it in there, but I'm not expecting it to be. Best screenplay, for sure, it's Aaron Sorkin. It's like an automatic vote right away. I think there's quite a few standouts here in the cast. Let's talk about the actors, since we've been going into that in depth here in our initial thoughts, and with such a big cast and talented cast, why not? Yahya Abdul-Mateen, for sure. Best Supporting Oscar. Yeah, that's it. You might not hear it, listeners, but Dan Allen Movies is giving a round of applause. This might be selling his performance a little bit short and sound a little bit shallow, but right now, if you want an empowered, confident, and isn't afraid to speak his mind black man on movie or TV, you want Yahya Abdul-Mateen.
He's attached to the new Mad Max, which I'm really happy about.
Yes,
with, Chris Hemsworth
and Anna Taylor-Joy from The Witch.
He was in Aquaman, and I loved him in look as Black Manta. Sorry, wipe my hands. I liked him. I think he's I think he's a big up and coming star. He's got a lot of talent, and you can see it in this. He wasn't in it much, but I tell you what, the passion this guy put into the performance. Maybe, Aaron maybe got it out of him for this, or maybe he's just that damn good.
He's just that damn good. I didn't realize that it was the same actor from Aquaman as it was who played, bit of spoilers here, I won't spoil things, who played Cal in Watchmen. And when I saw him as Cal in Watchmen, for me, that was like, okay, this guy's arrived. He's gone out to win an Emmy. And finding out that he's here in the cast for the Trial of Chicago 7 and the work he does on screen, when we get into spoilers, we'll chat about his character arc, was absolutely superb. So right now, this guy's got to be the forerunner. Although he's got some pretty stiff competition from Jeremy Strong. This bloke is a method actor, supposedly on set. He was begging Aaron to let him be beat up by a real ex-cop. What an absolute Looney Tune, but he has a hilarious performance in this movie.
He's always attached to these sort of films. Like, he was in The Big Short, he was in Gentleman. They're these real dialogue-heavy films. I don't know the word for it, but he's got his particular style that he always goes for. And yeah, you're right. I 100% agree. But going back to...
He's a character actor, but he still has kind of that leading man charm about him. And he's got this really good mystery. In the next few years, he's going to do some even better work.
Drifting back off to The Watchmen, I just want to quickly pick your brain. I haven't seen it. Is he a main character, our man, in that show?
Yahya Abdul-Mateen.
Yeah.
He is one of the series regulars, yes. So it's 9-episode limited series, I guess you could say.
Should
and
I
he is
watch?
in just about every episode. Dan Allen movies, as someone that loves the superhero genre, you've got to check out Watchmen. Was it a perfect TV show? No, but it was great. Episodes 1 through 9, I enjoyed all of them. Another very racially charged and at times emotional and touching series. You could do a heck of a lot worse here in 2019. So Damon Lindelof's Watchmen is going to get my seal of approval.
One more thing on him. When we call him an up-and-coming star, take a look at these 4 films he's attached to.
Here we go.
Candyman.
Where he's playing the eponymous Candyman. That's the Jordan Peele produced project. Yep.
Mad Max. The Wasteland. Aquaman 2.
If that ever gets made. Okay, let's preface that. Jordan Peele has a tough time making movies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Aquaman 2.
Yep. And we think that's coming.
Matrix 4.
Oh, yes, I did see that.
How good is that? This guy is a star. Give him a couple of years, you'll see him everywhere.
I'm not a fan of fan casting, pardon the pun. But if this guy is playing an agent, sign me the fuck up. I'm so sold.
What, James Bond?
No, playing an agent.
Oh, sorry. I completely missed that. I don't know what I'm thinking.
If anyone can do a Black Bond, if it's not Idris Elba from Cats, it's definitely Yahya Abdul-Mateen from the Trial of the Chicago 7.
Idris Elba, best known for Cats.
Best known for giving me a cavity.
We'll go into that later.
Quickly through the list. You mentioned that there was something missing from Eddie Redmayne's performance. I tend to kind of agree with you. It feels like there's maybe something from earlier on the picture. There could have been some stuff that ended on the cutting room floor. But I did quite enjoy the stuff he was doing as this kind of narcissistic Boy Scout type, where who knows if it's anything like the real life man, Tom Hayden, but at least Eddie Redmayne's portrayal had this as someone from, we've got the left and the far left in his character and Sasha Baron Cohen's Abby Hoffman, where they're dueling ideologies, even though they potentially both want the same outcome. And then later on, when we see the unraveling of Tom Hayden's arc, that was like, okay, I'm sold. This guy's performance really hit it on the end, as it did in the ending, which for those who have seen it, you're now listening to the podcast, you'll know what we're talking about. You would have been you would have been jumping right off the couch like we each were.
Let me just play this before I say the next line. Spoiler alert. How good are my segues? I mean, they're just so smooth.
Silky smooth.
Did you think he got the redemption? Because I have to respect Aaron Sorkin for not going Hollywood. And we've seen, with the ending and the whole picture, really, nothing's really Hollywoodized. Is that a word? Do you know what I mean? It's not sort of spruiked up much.
I mean, hey, this was a 6-month trial condensed into 130 minutes. And pretty much we do have quite an in-depth prologue, which isn't uncommon for some of Aaron Sorkin's movies, but pretty much the entire movie is the trial. So it is spiced up a bit. There is some rearranging of elements. Now that we're in spoiler territory, Bobby Seale, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen, we see him bound and gagged for 15, 20 minutes. In reality, that went on for a few days in the real trial before he eventually was, acquitted from the trial.
It's a relevant story as well. We'll go into that. He got his redemption, Eddie Redmayne's character, but I feel like the ending wasn't as big, or I don't know. I didn't feel that ending like. I understand he could have gone down the route. He did A Few Good Men, so he's done court dramas before. He could have, he's done the classic line that we played before.
Oh, you see Aaron Sorkin and courtroom drama, and you know you're on.
And he went for a bit more laid back approach, a bit more realistic approach with this, which I respect. But when it comes to a movie, sometimes you've got to spruce it up a little bit.
When you say sprucing up, do you mean that you wanted something more sentimental, or you wanted something more exciting? talk us through
More
your
exciting.
thoughts.
More exciting. There wasn't enough
What
excitement.
do you want like a gunfight and explosion in the trial? We
No,
we
no.
want we want terrorists busting through the windows on some ropes and rappels.
Not at all, but I watched, what was the one with Matthew McConaughey, courtroom drama, that I mentioned a few weeks ago?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, it's on the tip of my tongue.
It's
with
on the
Samuel
tip of
Jackson.
my tongue. Yeah, it's on the tip of my tongue too.
It's the Joel Schumacher film.
It's a Joel Schumacher film. Is it A Time to Kill?
I believe it is. Yep.
A Time to Kill, yeah. That had a bit more weight to it. I don't know.
Weight.
Yeah, I don't know. I just when it ended, I didn't feel much. Like I felt angry because this stuff's still going on. It's terrible what's going on here, and it's very relevant. But for a movie, I don't know. It didn't get to that next level.
Consider this though, Dan. While the battle may have been won, especially when we find out in some of those closing credits what happened to each person in real life.
Yeah, that's
as
a bit of a
judge.
sour. Yeah.
Yeah, like well, not really sour because it was actually a feel-good ending for pretty much everyone involved, but the battle may have been won, but the war, over 50 years since this real-life trial happened, now in present day, the war is not over. We've still got public fighting with the government, wanting to take sides. The left
That's what I
versus
mean
the
by
right,
sour,
you might
I
even
guess.
say. Yeah, so it's hard because you don't want to come across as too schmaltzy and too preachy with your message when it's still happening today. So this movie is, as you said, we'll touch on it. Let's do it right now. This movie is a reflection of what's happening today, is pretty full on. And consider if this was made by Steven Spielberg close to 15 years ago now with Will Smith and Heath Ledger. Can you imagine the kind of movie we might have had then?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that Steven Spielberg was originally attached to direct in 2007.
Yeah, and we
just got
still
put
have
on hold.
DreamWorks and Amblin Entertainment attached to the beginning of the film, but it's crazy to consider that didn't happen.
Heath
And-
Ledger. Wow.
Yeah, Heath Ledger. Supposedly,
It's such a shame, man. Like, not to quote David Lynch.
rumor has it. Yeah,
It's such a shame.
sadness.
It's such a sadness. No, like, Heath Ledger, man, he had a lot to give. That is devastating. Anyway, go ahead.
He did. Rumor has it. Here's a Hollywood story for you. I know you wanted something a bit more exciting. Supposedly, Spielberg was meant to meet with Heath Ledger the day before he died, but I don't. I take that one with a grain of salt.
Yeah, take it with a grain of salt.
This story of the Chicago 7, and at least the trial surrounding them, has been covered before in films. I believe this might even be like the 7th or 8th portrayal. I certainly haven't heard of it. I didn't know if you had until you watched this movie. But one interesting fact I found out, bit of like a documentary/mockumentary film, was actually released back as this was going on in 1969. It was directed by Haskell Wexler, a legendary cinematographer. And
Sandy
Haskell
Wexler, Adam Sandler.
Almost, right? Almost. Haskell Wexler is the uncle of Tanya Wexler, who directed Buffalo from one of our mini-sodes.
Oh, wow, there you
a couple
go.
weeks ago. So isn't it funny how, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon play out here?
Yeah. Do you typically like these political dramas, these courtroom films? I mean, they're two different genres, but those two genres.
Well, come on, it's a political trial. We only hear that line repeated a few times throughout.
Yeah,
We're in
exactly.
spoilers. Michael Keaton even shows up for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, it's good to see him. I love that guy. For some reason, I'm like, Michael Keaton is a superstar. Like,
Yeah.
I have it in my mind, but then I look at
For some reason, it's Batman.
But I look at his body of work, and nothing really stands out. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why I've got him.
We've got Mr. Mom, Multiplicity. Come on, all classics.
Because Birdman, Spider-Man are all up there. Spotlight,
Something else with man.
Batman. Yeah, I guess it's a pretty good resume. Like, what am I saying? But yeah, no, it was good to see him. I don't know, like, it is a bit random though. He had one scene and that was it, and played it well.
Very, very pivotal though, wasn't it? Who knows if that
Yeah.
really happened? But it was good enough to fool us, and a huge plot development with still a good 40 minutes to go.
What did you think now of Sasha Baron Cohen?
I enjoyed his work. It was great to see this guy get stuck into something really dramatic, because maybe even on next week's episode, we'll be talking about something from the very end of the spectrum. And his performance, it was very nice.
Sorry, it was what?
Wow, it's very nice.
How much? Like I said, even though the accent was a bit off, he brought a bit of comedic value. Like the film, I'll give it credit, it didn't shy away from being funny. It was actually, there was a few laughs in there, and he was at the helm of most of them, as you'd expect. So I did enjoy his performance. I mean, I
felt he was at his strongest in some of these like the comedy club kind of sitcom moments, which were used as a framing device. And Aaron Sorkin, what I felt worked much better here than in Molly's Game, he was able to kind of build that momentum through the editing and the cross-cutting and the hyperlinking between all the different stories going on at once, particularly with Sasha Baron Cohen's segment, which is why I mentioned it, that you really felt Chicago at the time was this boiling pot and at a fever pitch, and it wasn't going to take much to set everything off. Did you feel that as well?
I did, but
it was forever swelling and waiting to break.
I found those comedic, the club scenes a bit, there was one too many for me.
Okay.
Yeah, one too many. I found it when he was in the court, he would be his funniest, throwing some lines to the judge. That's when I really liked his performance. But
I still believe Jeremy Strong was the funniest amongst the cast, so I was glad to see him get in there and crack some jokes. If
that judge, man, he was an asshole. He was a dead set asshole.
Frank Langella,
racist pig.
I believe he's got maybe 3, likely 4 Academy Award nominations after the 2021 ceremony. I reckon this guy's a shoo-in for Best Supporting as well. He's never had a win. He was another standout.
I don't think you can give it to a judge.
Years of old, but
I don't think you can give an Oscar to a judge. For some reason,
he's not a real judge.
I know, but it doesn't. I don't. Yeah. What else have I seen him in?
I can't think off the top of my head, but he's very recognizable. You know what it is though? To try and take someone who on the page would read very much like a cartoon character, and then to kind of inject some life into him, and to make sure that we weren't totally bored and put off and really discussed it all that much that we couldn't keep going. I thought it was an expert portrayal.
Let's touch on some of the dialogue. Did you think the pacing was a little bit too fast paced, especially in those first 30 minutes? It was rocket speed.
It was very hard to keep up with, but it's not uncommon for a Sorkin feature to have that. Aaron Sorkin will be the first to admit, and listening to some of his interviews and even the Trial of the Chicago 7 podcast that was created just for this movie, Aaron Sorkin admits that what he writes is dialogue, and people don't speak dialogue in real life. It just so happens to be very entertaining in movies. So I don't mind, because at least we get to sit back and have a good time.
I like what Eddie Redmayne said in an interview. He said he's not afraid to tackle rigorous subject matter, and he invests in his audience speed of thought, which is an interesting concept. It's sort of like, wait for it, our man Nolan, who that's
a bingo.
I always swing it. Yeah, that is a bingo. I think he's not afraid to not give you all the answers, I guess. And I mean, I feel like Sorkin does give us the answers, but it's such at a rapid pace. It's actually, and the dialogue is very intellectual, that sometimes it is hard to take everything in, isn't it?
Consider this. Right now, because we're in spoiler territory, let's talk about way back to the beginning of the film. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who at times it feels like he's suffocating in the cast, but hey, it's good to have him back here in 2020.
3 in 1 year.
Yeah. When he's summoned to speak with the Attorney General, whose name right now, John Mitchell, when he's summoned to speak to him and he learns about the situation where this Attorney General joined under the Nixon regime, having kicked out Ramsey Clark, Michael Keaton's character, right there in the first 15, 20 minutes, we find out what's going to be revealed later on. It was right there in front of us. All we had to do was open our ears and listen, because it was always a political trial. Are you picking up what I'm putting down, Dan?
Yeah. I like that element, though. I love that stuff.
And Mark Rylance has that awesome he has that astonishment where he realizes that it was political to begin with. So things like this is what's going to get you over the line for a best adapted screenplay nomination, if not win.
You got to plant the seeds, and he did it perfectly. But
and it does feel like an authentic 1968. You might be speaking to two men in their mid-20s who, you know,
I mean, we say that every time.
We never saw the day of the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, or the 80s, but it feels authentic to us.
At the end of the day, everyone's got a different opinion on films. Everyone's from a different ethnicity, background, and come at films. And sometimes, you know, we agree, sometimes we don't. I don't think it matters where we come from. Like, if we're going to review a film, we don't have to have all the information. It's, you know, it's
purely subjective.
Exactly. So, what were some standout moments for you besides I guess the ending? Was that a standout?
It was. Hearing Tom Hayden, Eddie Redmayne's character, begin reading out the list of soldiers that were dying after he'd downplayed Alec Sharp, Rennie Davis's character, who was kind of his partner in crime with the SDS, the Student Democratic Party. After he was kind of downplaying, why you're writing these names down, it's not going to get us anything. Watching him stand up, knowing he's going to do it, and he started reading the name.
In real life?
It was like a fist pump. I didn't read into it, but you'd think he actually did that. It makes a lot of sense, right? And another standout with his character, we might not have felt that it was the best performance, but everyone was so good, it's hard to point your fingers. Another standout, when we saw Eddie Redmayne's side of the story, where he jumped on stage in the flashback we get in the third act, and we find out that he was part of inciting that riot, and then he and Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin all marched into the middle of the Chicago City Square. That was another one for me.
Jackson, I'm interested to hear what the critics thought. So let's get into my favorite segment and favorite jingle, Jackson's ratings, baby.
Jackson's ratings.
IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, audience score, and Letterboxd.
Dan Allen Movies, is this your favorite segment? Because you'll take a nap, you'll get a cup of water, you'll just stop listening altogether?
No, I love it. Absolutely. I absolutely love it. I just want you to get rid of the audience score, because I think we can tweak it a little bit. Get rid of the audience score, tighten this thing up, and we're off to the races. What do you think?
92% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
There you go, guys.
From 311 user ratings have given it...
Sorry, what was that?
IMDb. 8 out of 10 from 10,123 user ratings so far. The movie has only been out for 48 hours, coming up to 72 here in Melbourne, Australia. Yes, we're still in lockdown, by the way. Early days, but I feel like it's going to hold quite steady. Anyone who's bringing up Netflix, some of our more casual or less educated moviegoers, I really hope they hit play on this and not on some other movies on that site.
What, like a Halloween movie that we covered last week?
Please don't let me relive that. Certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, 94% of critics have given this a fresh review, 7.88 out of 10 average score from 159 critic reviews collated so far. Metascore of 76 from 44 critic reviews. And finally,
Letterboxd.
Thank you. 3.8 out of 5. It's been watched by 17,409 members and liked by 5,580 of them. Dan, give us some of your thoughts, your reaction to hearing these scores before going into your final rating.
I am not surprised, because especially in 2020 when we've had a drought, let's be honest, of good films. Films that are 7, 8, 9. And prestige
movies, right? We've had some on the film festival circuit, and we're going to be checking those out, listeners. Don't you worry, especially for our cinephiles out there. But yeah, you're right, mate. Hollywood hasn't been bringing the goods.
Yeah, so I can understand. I do think it might drop off a little bit as time goes on IMDb and some of the others, but Letterboxd should stay strong on there for a while. So I'm not surprised at all, and it's good to see the cinephiles backing this one.
See them back Sasha Baron Cohen and back on board with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and John Carroll Lynch. What isn't this guy killing it in? Seriously. I know we're banging on about the cast, but it is that good.
Yeah, it is a cast. Like, it's hard not to talk about the cast in a movie with, a star-studded cast like this.
Caliber.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I reckon I've watched about 6 of this guy's movies this year. I just watched The Dark Knight Rises, as I said the other day. I mean, this guy's popping up on everything. But he's good. He's a good actor. I'll give him that. He is a good actor, and he brings some of his best work in this film, I would say. He's very convincing as representative, but, I just think he's another actor that, like Eddie Redmayne, maybe you could have got that little bit more, that little bit extra to really push them and go, wow, I'm taken back by this performance. I really believe what this guy's doing. But anyway,
that's tough though, because like Eddie Redmayne, he was very much the straight man to every other character in that courtroom, and he was even a bit of a straight man to Mark Rylance's William Kunstler. But Richard Schultz, listeners, feel free to DM us, reach out to us at We Watch This Podcast on our social media. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he might be fabricated. I don't believe that this man actually existed in that courtroom. So
you're kidding?
Something else. Yeah, no, really.
Oh, what?
So to kind of inject some of that, because Leonard Weinglass, who was also representing Tom Hayden and Rennie Davis among the other Chicago 7. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed that we had another flavor there, especially from the government, and to still have someone sympathetic prosecuting the men was important.
And sorry, I glazed over John Carroll. Every time I see him, I think Invitation.
Yeah,
I just think You think Fargo? Yeah,
I think Fargo.
I think Invitation and Zodiac. Like, I just think this guy's a freak. But anyway, so it was weird to see him actually be a good guy for once. I didn't think he had it in him.
Well, I'm sure you weren't surprised then by the violent outburst.
No. All right, we've beaten around the bush, Jackson. I still want to hear your thoughts on Cats. Give me your final rating for the Trial of Chicago 7.
9 out of 10 head-scratching contempts of court. Is this a masterpiece? No, not by any means. Does that disqualify from 10 out of 10? It doesn't. Ask me again in a few months, 6 months, 12 months' time. Is this still a 9 out of 10? I don't know, but you know what? It's my opinion. If you don't like it, shove it. I'm going with that 9 because I absolutely enjoyed this. It didn't feel a minute of its 130 long running time, and it's very entertaining, even educational. While it's a little preachy at times, the performances, the writing, even the music, the production and costume design elevates the experience. So I'll keep this one short, succinct. It's a fantastic watch.
If you got the Dan Allen bingo card out now, you're about to get another strike, if you know what I mean, Jackson. I enjoyed the film. It didn't get to the next level for me, as I said before. The subject matter is very relevant. I recommend to everyone to watch this film because, some of you will like it more than me. Probably a lot of you will like it more than me. I just found the entertainment value here not as high as yourself, Jackson, or some of the others, although the cast were brilliant and the screenplay was fantastic. I'm coming in at a 7 out of 10, although it might seem low. Upon a rewatch, it may go up to an 8. So 7 out of 10 for me at this stage. So that's going to bring us to an 8 out of 10 together, which I'm happy with.
An 8 out of 10, a 16 out of 20.
That's
I'm happy
good
with that too. Before we move on to what I know everyone, including yourself, are waiting for, Dan, is this a stronger 7 than Extraction?
Definitely. So, let's put it this way. Like, if you look at my my ratings, I rated Hubie Halloween higher than The Lighthouse and Midsummer. So you could just go off that and go, this guy's got no clue what he's talking about. He's a dickhead. I don't gonna take anything with a grain of salt. It's the same for
And
this.
while you're at it, just walk on out, unsubscribe from the podcast, get rid of that YouTube bell. We really don't know what we're talking about.
I don't rate films against other films. I rate it in their sort of category, their genre.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot that goes into it. Extraction is not as good of a film as this. I don't have to tell you for you to know that. But where this film didn't have the entertainment, Extraction did for me. So, you know, it ended up coming in at a 7. But, you know, this will probably go up upon a this is one that I think would probably be rewarded.
Are you already having second thoughts about your 7?
No, I'm not having second thoughts. So, yeah, I change ratings all the time. I changed it on you before. I said off air, I told Jackson I've gone 10 for Parasite. And
well, now it's on air.
Yeah, it's on air now. I reviewed it. We reviewed it. What was a 10th episode? Somewhere around there.
Not even. Number 10 was It was Extraction. So Parasite would have been 5 or 6, maybe 7. So listeners, go back and listen to it. It was a banger of an episode as well.
Only 30 episodes or so ago, and I've already changed to a 10 on that. And I went down on Relic. I went I think I went from an 8 to a 7 or something like that. Anyway, but I'm always tipsy turvy, so. Don't be surprised if you see this coming at an 8 or even maybe a 6. Just catch me on the right day. But anyway,
or on the wrong day.
At the end of the day, the ratings are, you know, they're our little thing. It's either watch it or not. And from us, we want you to watch it. And
we are going to recommend The Trial of the Chicago 7.
You probably already have if you made it this far. All right, Jackson. Dan's Inferno. Part 2. You got past part 1, The Human Centipede part 2. I mean, that is a brutal film to start you off. I mean, that's one you'd end it on. But you had to start on that. And now you had to endure Cats, one of the worst films of last year. How did you go with Cats?
1 out of 10. Jellicle bombs for Jellicle blunders. If I ever hear the word Jellicle again in my life,
honestly, yeah, I agree.
I can't even finish this sentence, let alone this joke. I was beaten and bruised and bored into submission with this.
I had it at a 2.
15 minutes through, I couldn't believe that only 15 minutes had passed. I honestly believe it felt like I'd gone through at least an hour.
How long was the runtime?
No plot, no semblance of coherence. Yeah. It was smack bang about 105 minutes, an hour and 45
minutes. It felt
minutes.
like 2.5 hours for me.
It was such a slog. Just like Hubie Halloween, there was a point where I've pulled out the mobile phone and realized there was still at least 40 minutes left to go, and I was gobsmacked.
And it's funny, Tom Hooper, you know, this acclaimed director, Academy Award winning, and he's done, you know, The King's Speech. He's done, what else has he done?
Les Mis?
Les Mis, yep. Les Mis. Danish Girl, yep.
Which is, very interesting when we talk about Eddie Redmayne. But was this guy out to lunch for pre-production, production, and post-production?
I can't understand it.
How do we go from some of the movies we just mentioned, which while The Danish Girl, Les Mis, and The King's Speech might not be your favorite films, they are still very well made and well produced. Whereas Cats is the total opposite end of the spectrum. And how did this film release in cinemas back in December of 2019 last year, unfinished? Dan, you saw this in cinemas. What was your experience?
Horrendous. Absolutely shocked. It's one of the first times I thought about leaving the cinema halfway through, and that means it's bad. Seriously, you know, we've sit through some stinkers at the theaters. You know, we sat through Bloodshot pretty comfortably, and that's a stinker. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was just the only reason I gave it a 2, not a 1, was there was a couple of songs I didn't mind. Not liked, just didn't mind them. But that was pretty much it. Like there's no redeeming qualities. I thought Jason Derulo was terrible for his first film. It was embarrassing, really. I hate to say it. I hope you're not listening,
this
Jason.
was.
I hope
This
you're
was
not listening,
embarrassing.
Jason.
It was embarrassing for everyone involved. Dame Judi Dench is now the sole recipient of 2 1 out of 10s that I've dished out. First was Artemis Fowl, and now it's this. What was she thinking?
She'll win it back with James Bond. Don't worry.
You want to hope so, even though she's been written out and she won't be in that movie.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh shit.
Jesus.
She's got no hope.
No hope. What was Ian McKellen thinking?
Oh, that's a shame, that one. That's a real shame. And Idris Elba. Oh.
We've had the conversation here before on the podcast. Can we give out a 0? And is this fair to give out a 0? No, because some kind of care and love went into this. You've already heard the song. You do not need to go out and watch this movie. In fact, I'm going to implore you and recommend that you never endure this heap of rotting garbage ever in your entire existence. But Jennifer Hudson singing Memory and the reprise she does of Memory at the very end of the film when her character, can't even remember the name, is picked by old Deuteronomy to win the thing, I suppose. That is quite a touching performance. But too bad that's about 1 minute. And then we've got a whole nother 104 minutes that doesn't land. I don't know what any of this was thinking. Why not just go full live action with spandex and makeup and big wigs? Why not just go full animated? Why did we have to go between? And it looks so bad and it costs 100 million and lose at least 100 million at the global box office. Oh my God, damn.
How much did it lose?
Why did I have to watch this?
How much did it actually lose?
Let's crunch the numbers and run the math. A projected budget of 100 million US dollars. Note the word production. When we talk about budgets and box office earnings, you've got your production budget, and then when you take in what it's going to cost to market a film, you basically double it, and that's the point a movie will then break even. So, reported production budget of 100 million, add in your marketing, it needs 200 million at the global box office in US dollars to break even and be in the green. Or the black, I should say, not the red.
Yep.
Supposedly, it brought in 75 million.
Yeah, that's shocking. That is shocking.
At that point, you're spending 100 million to churn out this. Like, surely they knew during production we've got a total stinker on our hands. I don't know what James Corden was doing there, Rebel Wilson were doing there. So many of these people were phoning it in.
Rebel and Jason have gone on to make jokes about this and have a bit of a laugh, which I respect, because you have to. I mean, as comedians, you have to call it out. So that's good. Yeah, but I couldn't tell you their performance was very funny or good, but yeah, Cats is a shocker. Jackson, you've done 2 weeks now of the Inferno,
and before we move on to what's coming up next, we are not the first people to beat this movie, and I know it sounds like we're sounding like a broken record here. Me in particular, complaining and whinging in recent episodes. I haven't had the best run, but this movie really does live down to the hype. It is that boring. It is that bad. Is this becoming a cult classic, and could this get some midnight screenings? As one of those movies people would go on like Rocky Horror or The Room and begin to read and sing along.
Jackson.
It actually is.
No.
Would I want to go along and do that though? God no. Way too boring. Wouldn't be fun. It's actually got too much music and too little semblance of anything else. I rest my case. Dan Allen movies, halfway through, week 3, part 3. What's next? Lay it on me.
Are you sure you want to know, man?
There's only one way through the eye of the needle.
You're continuing? You're continuing on with the Inferno?
I've come this far. I'm not going to turn around now when I'm so
true.
close to getting the movie challenge back. It's hard enough to record a mini-sode with yourself, Dan, let alone get through this movie challenge.
All right. Well, are you a fan of M. Night Shyamalan? He's walked out again. Oh my goodness me. Oh no, he's just completely... Guys, he's completely walked out. I've mentioned the name M. Night Shyamalan. He's not happy because we all know this guy can make a good film and not so good film. Jackson, you're back now. Just the name M. Night caused you to walk out. There's a bingo strike. Feelings early on? There's a few options too. There's a few options that you could be really seething. It's just which one am I going to go for, hey?
I pray for a quick and painless death.
You want the quick film. There's three I'm eyeing off. Okay. I'm gonna go with the picture that is. Where are you going? Where are you? Come back. Okay, so Jackson, are you a fan of Dev Patel?
Go on.
Are you a fan of Dev Patel? Are you a fan of anime?
Well, our listeners may have found out what I thought of Dev Patel had someone not lost our episode covering the personal history of David Copperfield.
Oh, who was that? He should be shot. Well, this film had a budget of 150 million and it grossed 130 USA. It ended up doing 300 worldwide, so it didn't do that bad. It's 103 minutes, not too long. Jackson, you'll be watching The Last Airbender this week. Yeah, you're going to be watching The Last Airbender. It's not a good film. M. Night Shyamalan, I think it's his second worst film. I think
this could actually be worse.
I think The Happening is worse, personally. But, apples and oranges, is that the saying? Anyway, I've lost the plot. But anyway.
Potato.
Yeah, exactly. So The Last Airbender, 143 minutes long. Dev Patel, shouldn't be too bad.
Sorry, 143 or 103? If it's 143... Listeners, this might be my last ever appearance on the Rewatch This Movie podcast. 36 episodes in, 6 minisodes, Dan Allen Movies will be breaking me.
1 hour 43. Look, I thought I'd go safe on you. I could have gone After Earth. I could have gone Happening, but I went for this one. So you might have a good time. It depends how you're feeling.
Or it could be another 1 out of 10.
I've got the film at a 2, so just so you know.
It must have some redeeming factors.
So the Cats was also a 2 out of 10. So just so you know. Anyway, and the final week, you're in for a shocker on the final. But anyway, thank you, Jackson. I hope it's worth it. And when we do come out of the other side of this and bring back the movie challenge, I'll give you a good film the first week. How does that sound? The first week, eh? Hey. Oh, man. You know what? The movie challenge has just become the Inferno battle. It's just never going to end. Oh, dead set. Anyway, it's a bit of fun.
I've learnt my lesson.
You've learnt your lesson. Okay. Good to hear. You look after me, I'll look after you with a bit of Joel Edgerton, all right? How does that sound? Tick him off. Oh, we already got him off.
I was about to say.
Whoever I mentioned.
I think I've just won bingo, so it's not all doom and gloom here at the We Watch This Movie podcast.
All right, Jackson. It's been a belter of an episode. What have we got next week?
Next week, for our faithful listeners here at the We Watch This Movie podcast, you're going to see minisodes releasing. Dan Allen Movies is about to sit down and watch One Cut of the Dead, another Shudder exclusive. We want to shout out Shudder, WWT promo code for 30 days free over at shudder.com. And the main event. Next week's episode, we'll be covering a sequel to a Sasha Baron Cohen film. It's Borat, subsequent movie film. Yes, listeners, Borat 2.
Borat 2, baby.
Wow, it's very nice.
It's a very nice, Jackson.
We're going to have some very nice cues lined up for all of you.
Oh, wow. That's going to be an epic cue lineup. Borat 1 is a cult classic for me and Jackson back in the day.
Cult classic? It's one of the funniest movies ever.
Yeah, how many times did we, at school recite the lines to each other and friends? Wawa-wee-wa. Are you going to go back and watch the original, or you've just got it implanted in your brain like me?
Yeah, it's definitely implanted in my brain. Although, here in Melbourne, good news, everyone, we might be back in the movie theaters in the next few weeks. We've said it about a dozen times, broken records here at the podcast. If not, I think we'll be watching this from home on that second monitor in the lead up to next week's Borat episode.
Yeah, you could make a case Borat's one of the funniest films ever. For sure. It is a classic. It really is now. Like, everyone knows Borat, I think. But anyway. All right, Jackson, where can they find us?
Faithful listeners, thank you so much again for sticking around for another excellent episode of the We Watch This Movie podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, TikTok, even on... I think you already hit it. At We Watch This Podcast. You can find him at Dan Allen Movies on all the aforementioned platforms. Myself at Marshall on Film, followed by an underscore on the aforementioned platforms. Listeners, we'd love for you to jump into your podcast app, Apple Podcasts. Rate us 5 stars if you enjoy the show. We would really appreciate it. We're super grateful, super thankful for all the support we've had thus far. And we want you to head over to our YouTube. Hello there. Start watching the show. Leave a like, leave a comment, hit subscribe. Again, it would mean the world to us. What is your name?
My name is Dan Allen Movies.
My name is Marshall on Film.
Sorry,
this
my
is
name
the We Watch
is
This Movie podcast.
Allen. Dan Allen.
And that joke didn't land. We are out of time. See you next week for Borat's subsequent movie film. Just remember, it's Spooktober and the horror isn't over yet.